3 days after discovering John's infidelity, Jennifer remained locked in silence. Her phone rang endlessly with John's calls, but she couldn't bring herself to answer. Words escaped her, even when family and friends tried to reach out. She couldn't let them know what had happened. What would they think? The disappointment in their eyes was a thought she couldn't bear. They adored John, treated him like a son, and now, just weeks before their wedding, everything was falling apart. Jennifer was trapped in her thoughts, haunted by the consequences of the truth coming out. The online rumors that would erupt: bride-to-be catches fiancé cheating just before the wedding. Every smile, every cherished moment she had shared on social media would now seem like a lie. Despite the turmoil inside, the wedding preparations continued. Invitations had been sent, payments made, and the day everyone was waiting for was almost here. 4 days after the discovery, Jennifer finally responded to John. She didn't want to hear his voice. The sound of it would be too much to bear. They communicated solely through text messages from then on, handling the remaining wedding plans as though nothing had changed. When her family asked to see him, they both played their roles flawlessly, acting like the perfect couple. But the weight of the secret was too much. 2 days before the wedding, Jennifer could no longer carry it alone. In a moment of desperation, she confided in her mother. Her mother's reaction was immediate: shock, disbelief, and anger. "Is this what you've been going through all this time?" she asked, tears in her eyes. Jennifer's mother knew the news would devastate her father, so they decided to keep it between them. Despite her fury, Jennifer's mother urged her to go through with the wedding. "We've come too far," she said. "There's too much at stake. Be strong." And so Jennifer tried. She buried her pain, smiled through her tears, and on her wedding day, played the role of the joyful bride. Friends and family celebrated around her, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. John stayed by her side, but every time he tried to bring up what had happened, she silenced him. She wasn't ready to confront the betrayal, not yet. The first few months of marriage were marked by strained normalcy. Jennifer and John lived together as a married couple, but there was a distance between them, an unspoken understanding that things were far from right. Jennifer went through the motions, pretending to be happy, until one evening, 6 months after the wedding, everything came crashing down again. It was a Saturday evening. They had just finished dinner, and Jennifer was clearing the table when she noticed John's phone light up. A message flashed across the screen. "And what would you have me do about the pregnancy? The doctor says I'm 3 weeks along." Jennifer froze. Her world shattered for the second time. The air was thick with disbelief as she sank into a chair, her mind racing. "How did I get here?" she whispered to herself, tears streaming down her face. When John came downstairs, he found her sobbing, her face buried in her hands. "Babe, what's wrong?" he asked, his voice laced with concern. But Jennifer's voice was steady, filled with a quiet rage. "Why did you marry me?" John's confusion grew. "What are you talking about?" "Look at your phone," she whispered, pointing to the device that still lay on the table. He picked it up, read the message, and went silent. Jennifer's tears flowed freely now. "Why did you do this to me? Why did you marry me if this is how it would end? What have I done to deserve this?" John had no answers. He stood there, the silence stretching between them, an unbridgeable chasm. With that, Jennifer grabbed her car keys and stormed out of the house, leaving John behind in his guilt and frustration. She drove aimlessly, her heart aching with every mile. Eventually, she called her mother, her voice trembling with grief. "Mom, what have I done? What have I done to myself?" Her mother's voice, though calm, was filled with concern. "Jennifer, what's wrong?" "Another woman is pregnant for John," she wailed. her anguish filling the car. On the other end of the line, her mother went silent, the weight of her daughter's words sinking in. "Come home, Jennifer. We need to talk." By the time Jennifer arrived at her parents' house, her father was already there, waiting. Her mother had broken the news, unable to keep the secret any longer. The look in her father's eyes was one she had never seen before: disappointment, pain, and helplessness. He rose from his chair as soon as she entered, but the words escaped him. "How could you go through with this?" he asked, his voice barely audible. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jennifer crumbled under the weight of his words, the shame and regret finally overwhelming her. "I thought it was the right thing to do," she whispered, barely able to meet his gaze. "I thought everything would fall apart if I called it off." Her father shook his head, tears welling in his eyes. "Jennifer, the worst mistake wasn't in calling off the wedding. It was in believing you had to go through with it when you already knew the truth." As Jennifer sat in silence, the reality of her choices sank in. She had sacrificed her happiness to save face, to avoid the judgment of others. She thought of the wedding day, how everyone had smiled and cheered for a future that, deep down, she had known was a lie. The thought of wasted time and effort had led her into a life filled with deceit and pain. Now, sitting in her childhood home, Jennifer wished she had been brave enough to walk away when she had the chance. She felt a deep sadness for the person she had become, someone who had lost herself in the need to please everyone but herself. She looked at her parents, tears in her eyes. "I should have called off the wedding." Her father took her hand, his expression softening. "It's not too late, Jennifer. You can still choose differently." Jennifer's heart pounded as her father's words lingered in the air. Maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to find her way back to the life she truly deserved. Subscribe to our channel to see more true life stories.